Brighton CEO Paul Barber called Chelsea his best customer. Yes, you heard that right. Now, he did not just call Chelsea his competitor based on the fact that they play in the same league, which is the English Premier League. He did not call Chelsea his rival, but rather he said Chelsea is his best customer. Now, what do you think of that? Now, in this video, I would actually be dissecting in segments what I think about that statement and a whole lot of what it means in my head, and what you can think about. You get, because it's actually strange that in a footballing world, someone is actually calling the other person his best customer, not his rival or whatever. You get? So we would be discussing that extensively in this video. So what exactly did Paul Barber say? Now, in an interview which he granted, he actually said that Chelsea is his best customer. Now, it is not just a banter, like he jokingly said that it was not just a banter or something or some sort of, you get. But if we get to look at it if we get to look at it critically, we would understand that for the past few years, Chelsea has spent over 200 million pounds in purchasing players from Brighton. Like nothing less than 200 million pounds to purchase players from Brighton FC. Now, these players include Sanchez, the goalkeeper, includes Caicedo, which is a British record, over 115 million pounds. Now, Cucurella, and recently João Pedro. Now, you can imagine, these sort of players and, their price worth that was purchased from a single club, Brighton. And it was purchased by Chelsea. So why do you think an owner wouldn't call this particular club his best customer? You get, people that has actually bought from him over and over and over and over again. Something worth over, players worth over 200 million pounds. So you can see where this stock is actually coming from. Now, the real question here is Brighton a football club or a business venture? Okay, now Tony Bloom, who happens to be the owner of Brighton, actually said every business and transaction has its own judgments or its own peculiarities. You get? But the fact is, when you consistently, sell these players without, considering loyalty and all that, now the fans will tend to, take it like, oh, is this actually, what we are up for, or is this worth it? Personally, I think Brighton is playing chess while the other clubs are playing checkers. Now, people would, actually think if, what they are doing is actually brilliance or, or a good strategy or just a capitalist, pattern. You get my point? But I think Brighton is actually playing the chess game. Now, you would understand that, Brighton would, get undervalued players from their, feeders team or from wherever they will get them from, undervalued players, and develop them. After developing these players, then they would sell these players in an exorbitant sum, to Chelsea and other clubs of recent Chelsea, in recent years, Chelsea. You get? But personally, I think what Brighton is doing in this light is actually brilliant, because when they get these undervalued players, now groom them and sell them in an exorbitant price, they use these funds that they are getting to develop their club, develop their training facilities and, their structures and whatever. So it's actually a thing of brilliance to me. Personally, I think it's a thing of brilliance in this aspect. Ironically, I think Chelsea is actually funding Brighton's rise to the top. Now, why do I say this? With every transfer, Brighton gets stronger not just on the pitch but off the pitch. Now, Brighton have upgraded their training facilities. They've expanded their scouting network, and they have actually built a reputation of being one of the smartest clubs in Europe. It could be that Chelsea, or it seems like Chelsea is chasing instant success. Now Chelsea wants to get the instant success by getting these top players. You get, while Brighton could seem like they are pushing for something that is sustainable, like their training facilities, their stadium, their network, and all that. So it could seem like their strategy is to get things that are sustainable for the now, while Chelsea are actually pushing for instant success. So you see, every club priorities differs. Now, let us discuss recruitment. You get, now Brighton, their pattern and their strategy is quite simple and a genius strategy. Now they get undervalued players, young undervalued players. Now they bring them in, they train them, they develop them and sell them in a high price or exorbitant price. Now, when they sell them in a high exorbitant price, they've made massive profit. But come to think of it, at a point, don't you think the fans would actually get tired and fed up of just making profit? If you get to look at it properly, it's not actually the fans that are making the profit. It's actually the owners, and the management teams and what have you, that are making the profits, not the fans. So don't you think it will get to a point where the fans would actually want trophies? The profits wouldn't be their interest anymore. So at a point, the hunger for trophies would actually creep in into the memories or the heads of the fans. So at that point, what do you think Brighton would do? Because it's not just about making profit and profit and profit. The fans want success. They want to lift trophies. That is the reason why they are supporting clubs. So at that point, you tend to ask, if every player is sold, can Brighton actually compete for any title? Not even the minimal titles. Can they ever compete for any titles? Or it is a club that is built and predicated on being a stepping stone for other clubs? So these are questions that would actually arise in the heads of the fans. Now, let's flip the lens. Now, talking about Chelsea, are they actually being desperate or they are being decisive? Because buying from a particular club consistently in an exorbitant form could seem like you're actually being desperate. It's something, it's a question that will be asked, whether Chelsea is actually desperate for them to consistently go to a particular club. It will seem like they can't do without this particular club. It's actually something that it's thought provoking. You get, now 10 years ago, it's actually difficult or rare for you to see Brighton actually in the discussion table with Chelsea, trying to negotiate business and all that. It's very rare. But at this point in time, we get to understand that it is seeming like Brighton are actually the ones dictating the pace. They would actually keep a price for a particular player, and Chelsea will just go all in and buy the player. So is that a sign of desperation, or it is that Chelsea are actually being decisive because they know what they want and they know what they are building? So they go for what they want and get the result that they want. Now, Chelsea fans are actually split in their thought processes or what they think about whatever is going on. Now, some of the fans are actually okay, they are satisfied with the purchases and all that, while some are actually thinking Chelsea are being extorted. They have the right to their thoughts, but I think majority are actually happy about what is going on. You get, due to the fact that the plethora of the players that have been bought from Brighton are actually stars and are actually doing well in Chelsea right now. Like you can imagine, Caicedo You can see what Cucurella is doing, and Sanchez has actually stepped up his game. So, João Pedro, having an immediate impact, in the Club World Cup, and currently now they've started the preseason, and he's doing absolutely great. So Chelsea fans are actually happy, that most of them are actually happy that they got these players, even if they were exorbitant and all that, but they're actually proving their worth. While some are saying, oh, is this a fleece or something, you get. And on the part of the Brighton fans, they are actually, you know, happy, that, oh, they're actually making a whole lot of money and all that. Yeah, it's very possible. But let's look at this. Let's have a flip now. Now, when your club actually tend to be a marketplace, a continuous marketplace, don't you think it loses its identity? Now, I'm actually referring to Brighton, you get, because to my mind, I feel at the point they would lose their identity, because most times the fans actually want heroes and legends, not profit. They're not thinking about that, even though the owners would actually think about profit too and how to sustain the club. But on the part of the fans, they are looking for people that would fight for the badge, people that will remain, be loyal, and get them trophies, become heroes and legends of the club. You get, so at a point, all these things might, the fans might actually get fed up about it, while on the other hand, Chelsea might be winning trophies. So we get to ask ourselves these salient questions, the Chelsea fans and the Brighton fans, which fans are actually satisfied with whatever their clubs are actually doing. Now, on the aspect of future dealings, Tony Bloom, who is the owner of Brighton, actually hinted that you know Brighton might actually cease or have a little break on doing business with Chelsea. But to my mind, I think that is just a statement, mere making statement. I don't think it's actually something that could be kept to, because you can imagine, Chelsea, having £100 million bid for Evan Ferguson or Baleba. You get, this is a huge sum of money. So, do you think Brighton would actually instantly say no, that they're not going to do business, they're not going to sell these players? Because we all know they are in for the money at this point in time. So, I think what Bloom is saying is actually for a statement he's just making. I wouldn't know. I don't think he meant it. I don't think it's something that would actually stand, because let's let's check it out. Chelsea offering 100 million for Baleba or above. Do you think Brighton will hold on to him? No, I don't think so. So these players will not be held back if an offer comes to the club, a huge offer comes to the club. These players will be sold by Brighton. That's what we know them for. But another thing is, it now brings up the question of the future of football transfer. The future of football transfer. At this point in time, we cannot predict, where it is actually heading to. We are just, spectators, and we are viewing, and would only have ideas to see, you get. So it brings this question: where does the future of football transfer lie? So, at this instance, what have we learned? I think clubs are no longer just rivals. Yes, they're not just rivals anymore. They are actually vendors and buyers. Brighton turned Chelsea into a revenue stream, while Chelsea turned Brighton into a talent factory. What do you think about that? It's a strange new world, and it's only getting stranger. Okay, so thank you all for tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe, share, and let me know, is Brighton brilliant or just lucky? And is Chelsea building or just buying? Let me know in the comment section. Thank you, and see you.